Hi, I'm Lou Manfredini, Ace's home expert. Are you looking for a fun idea to bring an accent wall to life? Well, this buffalo print pattern behind me might be the answer for you. Let me show you how it's done. So it doesn't matter what kind of painting you're going to be doing, the prep work is 90% of a good job. So you can see we already started doing some of the prep work, and you want to make sure that there's any marks on the walls. You're covering with a little joint compound to smooth that out because you want the finished product to look really good. After patching, sand that nice and smooth, paying attention to those patched areas, and wipe off the wall. We're also taping the bottom trim so it won't get any paint on it. And then in our particular paint job, there's going to be 4 different colors, so we have to apply a base coat to this wall. Now when it comes to laying out the lines, you have a couple of choices. You can use a traditional level like this with a pencil and tape measure, or a laser level. There's many different kinds. This particular one will shoot that red line right across the wall, make it nice and straight, so we get some really good lines to follow for our taping. First, we're refreshing the base coat, using a brush to cut in around the 4 sides. And we're also painting over the areas we patched. Then it's time to roll the paint inside the area that we framed. We'll wait until this coat is thoroughly dry. For our buffalo print, we're making 12-inch squares on this wall. So to start our pattern, we're marking off the horizontal lines from top to bottom every 12 inches. We're using the laser level to connect those dots, taping very carefully along that red line. Feel free to overlap that tape. Nice straight lines are key to making sure the wall looks great. Okay, so there's no question that this type of wall treatment takes a lot of work. You can see the lines are set for the first horizontal painting that we're going to do. So here's a couple of tips to make sure that you don't create any extra work. Wet a rag and use that to set the seam of the tape on the part where the paint is going to go. That way it seals in there to give you that crisp line. And then take some tape and X out the areas initially that you're not going to paint so that you don't end up painting the wrong line, because that will really drive you crazy if all of a sudden you realize, oh, I painted the wrong line and now my pattern isn't there. So we're going to set that all up, and now we're ready to start painting our horizontal lines. Like the base coat, we're cutting in with a brush first, just on the sides of these stripes. We're using our second darkest out of the 4 colors we've chosen. Then use your roller to carefully cover the area between the tape. You're painting every other stripe, leaving a base coat stripe in between. One thing to keep in mind that whenever you're applying a darker color, it's going to take 2 coats. You really want that depth of color. Now, even though we've got really nice coverage here and looks pretty good, when you get right on it, you can see a little bleed through of that base coat. So you want to allow this to dry and then put the second coat on. I cannot stress enough the importance of quality tools, in particular the roller. You saw that paint going on there. They're using a really high quality roller. When you buy the good rollers and you kind of try and pinch these fibers with your fingers, nothing's going to come off. And what's really important is that core inside there. The cheap rollers, I could squeeze like this and I could crush it. This, because it's solid, won't crush, which means that it'll hold the paint and then apply it evenly to the wall. And that holds true with the brushes as well. I'm only talking about spending a few more dollars on quality tools to apply the paint. You're going through all this work to get this beautiful finished product. You don't want the tools to let you down. When you peel the tape is very important. You want to make sure that you do that just as the paint film is drying. So you want to pay attention to the surface of the paint, and when you kind of put your fingers on there and you feel it, that it's dry, go ahead and peel that tape. If you wait too long, you can get a pull through and actually cause more work for yourself. And don't be discouraged if you see a little bleed through like this from maybe a little hiccup where the tape was. By the way, you're doing a faux finish. It takes a little artist's eye to really get a perfect finish every time. Put a little artist brush in there later on and touch it up. It'll look great. We're ready to lay out our vertical lines using the laser once again. But something I want you to keep in mind, we've got the base coat, then we have 2 coats of paint that we just applied. So that's a total of 3 coats. You have to allow this to dry overnight before you apply the tape, because we don't want any pull. And then you're going to go ahead and start with that tape like we did before, lining that up with the laser line, that vertical line, and start applying that tape up and down. and go laying it out across the way. And you're really gonna start to see this process come together. We're using the third darkest color to paint the vertical stripes. As usual, cut in first with a brush, applying this third color of paint to the top, then to the bottom of the columns. And then we're using the roller to carefully fill in those spaces between the lines. When you're done, once again, peel the tape off while the paint is starting to dry. All right, there's just one final step, a little bit more taping to get that print that we're looking for. Now here's a tip. You're not going to use a laser anymore. We're going to go ahead and tape around this box for our final color. But what you want to do is take that tape, and when you place it there, it's got to be ever so slightly bigger than the darker color. I want to actually expose the lighter color underneath. The reason is when I go back and paint this, I want to make sure I get full coverage with our final color. And that way you'll get the effect that you're looking for. Okay, it's time now for our final coat. You can see it's sort of a subtle change in color. I'm using a small roller now to fill in this square. The reason you want to stay with a roller is you want to have that same texture on the wall. If you brush this on, the texture will be different. And now we just work our way around, filling them all in. And in just a little bit, we're going to be able to pull the tape and reveal our finished product. It looks great, doesn't it? It's amazing what you can do with a little paint and the right advice. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page for more projects like this. From Ace, the helpful place.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.